another video on stocks. So I had got something stuck in my throat. It's going on. Should I stop the video? No, I'll carry on. So I've made a few videos on stocks, mixed results, and I had two more questions that I want to answer when I'm making stocks, and then I can kind of decide which is the best method to make a stock. So standard stocks are bones and roast bones and vegetables, cold water, bring up to the boil, simmer really slowly for 12 hours, strain off, hey presto, you've made a stock. But I've seen different ways of people making stocks over the years, and I've never really been completely happy with the stocks that I've made. So this is basically me just kind of faffing around. So I've done the standard versions of vegetables and bones together. I've made vegetable stocks by themselves, just roasted vegetables. I've just had bone stocks with no vegetables. I have taken the like jelly from the bottom when I've rendered some fat in some water. It kind of produces a kind of a stock. I've used that with some roast vegetables. I've done lots of different things. But the two questions that I still have left are: can we just take some roasted bones and make a stock out of those, and then use that bone stock, broth if you like, to then put some roast vegetables in that stock without the bones, and then will that make a good stock? Question mark. So that's what we're doing here, and then the next part of the video will be kind of like the reverse. I will make a stock from the some roast vegetables. So I've got 2 lots of roast vegetables. I've got 2 lots of bones for stock. So the second part of the vegetable video, I've been working, I'm a little bit tired, will be me making a vegetable stock out of the vegetables, and then taking that vegetable stock without, like, straining the vegetables out of it, and then adding that liquid to some other roast bones that I've got. So I've got some more roast bones, and then making a stock that way. Does that make sense? So this pan, we're going to make a bone stock. Then we'll take that stock, strain the bones out of the stock, take that stock, water, and then add that to some roast vegetables, and see what kind of stock that makes. So we'll then cook those vegetables in the bony broth for a couple of hours, and see what that does. And then we'll do another stock from some roast vegetables that we'll add some water to. We'll make a vegetable stock, and then we'll use that vegetable stock water on top of some bones to see if that makes a stock that way. I've described that twice now, so I hope that makes kind of sense. But you just watch the video and it'll kind of make sense as I go along. Sometimes I think my description aren't as good as they should be, and whereas you can just see what I'm doing. So we're going to do that. This will be cooking for 12 hours, so it's about 12 o'clock at night at the moment, so it'll be on all night. I'm not that bothered about skimming it too much. I'm just more bothered about the kind of flavour. So we'll kind of see. I did, so before I forget, I did read, what's his name? I was reading a book, Jeremy, I don't know where the book is. So I was reading a Jeremy Lee cookbook. So he's only ever done one cookbook, but it's rather quite good. And he reminded me in that book about not overcrowding the pan with bones and vegetables, which was something I was kind of thinking about before, because I think there's like a saturation point that if you were extracting flavour out of bones, you're only going to get the water that you use is only going to extract so much flavour and gelatin and goodness before it's completely saturated, and then it's not going to be able to draw any more out. So that's what in my previous video Gary Rhodes was doing. So Gary Rhodes would take a pan of stock, vegetables and bones, and simmer that for 12, sometimes maybe 24 hours, drain that stock water off, then top up the pan again with cold water and do like a second simmering to extract even more kind of flavour from, to get all that flavour out the vegetables and the bones, and then combine those two stocks from the two separate simmerings and reduce that down by half. So that's kind of how he got around that kind of idea. But I think if it just had a bigger pan with more water in and less vegetables and less bones, he probably would have been able to kind of cut that down by half and not have to do the second kind of boil, because I think there was like a saturation point with the water. That's my theory anyway. So that's something we're going to have a little bit of a think about as well. So there seems to be quite a lot of water in there for the amount of bones. Oh, look, I've talked 5 minutes already. So there seems to be quite a lot of water in there for the amount of bones, but I'm not that bothered about that. So we'll kind of see what kind of. I'm not really bothered about the volume of stock that we get. I'm more bothered about the flavour of stock. So if these two methods, if I end up with more stock from one of the methods than the other method, I'll be able to reduce them down to kind of like the same kind of level. So if one stock, say, produces a litre of stock and the other one produces 2 litres of stock, I'd reduce the 2 litres of stock down to 1 litre of stock, and then that would be an idea of what kind of flavour and kind of volume we kind of got. But anyway, I'm waffling as always, but I always kind of think I have to get my ideas down and then I can think my way through something. So cold water up to a boil, slow simmer, 12 hours. We'll see what it's like, and then we'll do the next step tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow afternoon-ish. The stock's had about 13, 14 hours. I popped out, so I just kind of left it on. So, tastes alright. It's relatively clear. No kind of real amazing flavour there. But that's just the bones. And then I cooked. Move the camera. So on the back, that's the skimmings from the stock, and then we've got vegetable stock at the back. So this is just vegetables, roast vegetables and water. That tastes pretty good. So the next step is to cook these remainder bones in that vegetable stock at the back, and then take this meaty stock here and cook it in some more vegetables that I've got. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'll do it on camera. I'll put some timestamps in. You don't need to watch everything, but I'm just thinking my way through things and trying not to make any kind of too much washing up. So these bones have served their purpose, so they can kind of come out. My only concern is, I was thinking about this, my only concern is the amount of stock that will have and the amount of vegetables kind of ratio might be a little bit kind of off. But hopefully the volume of the bones will make it that I haven't got too much kind of stock. Oh, look at that. So there's loads of goodness kind of come out of those bones. Probably should make a really good jellied stock. So lift those out of there. Look at those. Cool. This process always makes the stock a little bit cloudy. Old-fashioned stock pots used to have a tap at the bottom of them that you can drain them from the bottom. Alright, yeah, so there is. Well, I'm thinking about this now. So this is making stocks with bones and vegetables and slowly simmering is like a classic French way of doing it. There is the old country house British way of doing things, because when back in the days when we didn't particularly have restaurants, we had country houses and cooks. They were like not particularly refined restaurants. Is they would have a pan with vegetables and meat in, and it would be slowly simmering away all day, and they'd use that stock, and then they'd top it up with more vegetables and more bones, and then add some more water. And it was kind of like a cloudy, stewy flavoured kind of stock. But maybe that's something to kind of investigate into the kind of future. So, how am I going to do this without making too much of a mess? I don't know. Maybe I need to turn the camera off. No. I need to do that. I'm trying not to make a mess of things. So I need to get that stock out of there. I'm just going to have to dirty a pan. There's no two ways about it. I'll just have to get the pan out. Get some more vegetables out. We can get rid of that tray of bones. And then what we want to do is we want that. And we want these roast vegetables. So those are the roast vegetables. We want that a bit of. Just need to rinse that out a bit because there's some goodness in the bottom of that container. I haven't put these. I was always told that you shouldn't, once you've roasted vegetables and bones and things, you shouldn't put them in the fridge because the fridge will make it lose kind of flavour. So I'm trying to avoid that. And then we need a sieve to pick up any excess amounts of debris. I'm not going to burn my hands. I'll probably steam up the camera. So, and then if we put this stock in here, and top it up to the. See, we've got that much more stock. So, okay. So that needs to go in. That can go in there. Okay. So that stock we won't create any washing up. We'll pull that stock into there. Like that. You can't see what I'm doing, but you know, right. So, a few bones in the bottom of there. That out of the way. That out of the way. That out of the way. So now I want to. What do I want to do now? Now I want to put the bones. Put these bones back in this pan. See, I'm avoiding doing some washing up, which is a good thing. Put that in there. Put that in there. Might need to. Like that, and then we need to transfer that vegetable stock onto the top of the bones, and I think we'll need a little bit more as well. We use that's hopefully that's going to fall in, isn't it? That's going to fall in. Right, so we need something to grip onto. Right, so what I have found is you can never really buy what you want in life. So I'd really like this sieve to have those types of grips, so they sit on the edge of the pan. But it's difficult to find one of those these type of sieves that's fine enough with those grippers on. So what you do is you put that sieve in the pan and that sieve on top, and then hopefully it doesn't fall in. Right, so you can do the camera a bit higher up, but not to worry, and then pour vegetable stock on top of these bones, and not all over the cooker like I just could hear it do. Right, that's going to need more liquid in. What I might do is I might boil those vegetables up again for another hour. Right, so what we'll do is we'll put some more liquid on those vegetables and boil that up so we get a little bit more stock, a little bit more flavour out of there, and then we'll use that liquid on top of there, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. Right, so can't make that stock just yet. I need to top that up with water, simmer it for an hour, and then use that water on those bones, and then we'll see what that stock tastes like. It's a bit of a cack-handed long way of doing things, but we'll see how we turn out. I'll think my way through it. I'll go swimming and I'll think my way through it and see if we've done the right kind of thing. Or we could just use less bones, but probably need more stock. Let's do it. I'll have a think about it, and then we will have a think about it and think what potentially we could have done later, and then can compare stock later on and have a think. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll have a think and we'll work our way through it. Right, so I've had a quick think. So there's going to be, so those are the vegetables for the vegetable stock that I'll add some more water to, and then we're going to use that water to add to the bones, the fresh batch of bones, to make a stock. And then I was kind of thinking, well, so we'll end up with the same amount of, need to end up with the same amount of stock and a similar type of amount of time that the vegetables will have cooked in the stock, whether using it with the bones or without the bones. Complicated, I know. So really kind of what I need to do is these vegetables that have got the bone broth on them, they really need to be cooking with all the amount of stock. So they need to be in a big pan. So they need to be in this pan with this extra stock from the bones, and then we get like a fairer comparison. So let's just get that going, and then this front needs to go off, and then we just need to put that pan down there and add these vegetables without making too much of a splash in here. You should never pour things towards you. It is incredibly dangerous. Never do what I am doing. However, I am not professional. I'm an idiot. Don't do it. Although you've got more control this way. So really I should have had double the amount of vegetables, I think, to the amount of bones. I should have weighed everything, but you know, winging it through life as always. Come on. Don't splash me. Don't make a mess of the cooker. Right, so that will also mean that there's more. So we talked about, I talked to myself about saturation point of water. That a certain amount of water is only going to extract a certain amount of flavour and gelatin and all those and nutrients, calcium from the bones. It's only going to absorb so much before it gets too saturated that it can't absorb any more. So by using all that stock, hopefully we won't need to do the thing where we're because that vegetable stock's already changing in colour. So there is colour and there'll be some flavour still to come out of those vegetables. It's not crystal clear, it's not water, it's not, you know, it's a bit not murky, but there's some colour to that. So there is a little bit of flavour and a little bit of colour still to be extracted from those vegetables. So hopefully with that volume of water, it'll be roughly the same amount of volume of stock and water and those type of things. I'm waffling, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I understand it in my head, which is often the case in life, that what my brain, I understand something in my head, but I haven't probably got the vocabulary or kind of quite the understanding to explain things as I'm kind of thinking. What did I think it was Einstein that said what you should be able to do is you should be able to describe something simply enough to a 5-year-old that then that 5-year-old can then take that information and describe it accurately to another 5-year-old and then both understand what you'd originally said. I can't do that, but hopefully you can watch the videos and kind of see what I'm trying to get at. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do. So this needs to go on. So this is going to cook for this bone broth that's now cooking the vegetables. That needs to cook for 2-3 hours, something like that, and then we'll strain it. And those vegetables at the back need to cook for just an hour because a lot of the flavour's already come out of them, so we just need to seep out a little bit more flavour. And then that water from there needs to go over the bones, and they need to cook the fresh batch of bones, and they need to cook for 12, 13 hours, something like that. And then we'll be able to compare the two stocks, see how they taste. And I won't need to reduce one to get the same kind of level. Hopefully it'll be about the same kind of volume. But we'll weigh it. I've got a rough idea of how many vegetables we use. It was about 3 medium to large onions, a stick of celery, and a kilo of carrots for each stock that I'm making. And then bone wise, it was like 2 thigh bones. Like 2 thigh bones, yeah, it was 4 bones in total, so it's like two thigh bones, 2 calf thigh bones per stock type of thing. Thigh, no, shin, bones, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe something to work out in the future. Anyway, so we'll do that. We'll faff around, boil some stuff up, do some washing up, and then we'll be back later on. Right. So, second boiling of the vegetables has had an hour and a bit, and it's cooled down a bit. Alright colour is that? That's not a bad colour at all. There's still not enough water in there. There's not enough liquid. I have to put more liquid in. Not to worry, we'll top it with water. I'm not going to get any more flavour out of those vegetables. So it can just be water. Keeps dripping though. Yeah, I'll top that up with water. It's fine. We'll lose a bit through evaporation. And it's still going. Must be trapped in the layers of the onion and things. Oh, there's about another tablespoon in there. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. That's about all we're going to get out of there. That out of the way, somewhere safe. So that needs topping up with water. Not to worry. Those bones won't go down any flatter, will they? Or will they? Don't think there's any. I don't think they will. No, that's still going to poke up. No, we'll just top it up with water. It'll be fine. And then let's get a container for this other stock. The trusty Jacob's biscuit box. So we'll get an idea of. Let's have a taste first. That's alright. That's alright. I think it probably could have done with double the amount of vegetables. If I'm honest. It's good colour. What's it made? 3 litres? 4 litres? About 3 litres. Yeah, about 3 litres. We'll pass it. We'll put it through what do I call it? A cloth to pick up any last bits of debris. But it's made about 3 litres, something like that. About 3 litres. Yeah, it looks about 3 litres. Normally I reckon I get 4 litres. Oh, it's gone all steamy. Normally I get about 4 litres. That's fine. So, where are we? There we go. So, that can cool. Well, we'll put it through a cloth just to get rid of all the kind of impurities. And there's a little bit of, we'll drain those vegetables a bit more, there's a bit more stock in the bottom there, so we'll get a proper idea of that. And then we'll top this up with another couple of litres of water. And then have that on for 12, 13 hours. What time is it? About 7 o'clock in the morning. Depends what, about 7 o'clock in the evening. Depends what time I want to get up in the morning. If I get up at 9, it'll be on for about 14. But it'll be fine. We'll see what it's like in the morning, then we'll strain it, put it through a cloth, and then we'll do a comparison of the two stocks and see if we kind of think which one is worth doing and if one's better than the other, and have a think about what the other stocks taste like that I made before. I'll do that from memory because I didn't keep any of them. I've put them in something else. But anyway, so we'll see how it turns out. Tasting time. So, I've made both the stocks. I have passed them through strained them through a cloth so as to get out most of the particles and all that kind of stuff, and they've been set in the fridge so we can have a look at them. This one is the one that I made the bone broth first and then used that bone broth to cook the roasted vegetables that way, and then this one is the other way around. So I made a vegetable stock first with some roast vegetables and then used that vegetable stock water to simmer the bones for 12-14 hours, something like that. That one's set better. We've got roughly the same amount of liquid. Yeah, roughly about the same amount of liquid, about 3 litres. I don't know the weight of the bones. I suspect at the moment we'll have needed more vegetables. But you can see that one's set better than that one. Don't know why. Don't know why. Maybe the bones for that one, there was like a big bit of like cartilage, like tendon on one of the bones, so that might be the reason that's a little bit more jellified. But I've heated a little bit of the stock up. Let's have a taste. It's still warm, so it's nice and clear. It's good colour. That was nice, but could do with more vegetables. This is not as good a colour and lacking in flavour. So why does that one taste better? Why does that one taste better? I don't know, but it does. I don't know, but it does. And it's quite a nice stock. I think it needed double the amount of vegetables. I think so. Hopefully, when I'm going to meat suppliers, I can't remember. I don't think it's this week. I don't think I've got time this week. I'll work out how much a bone weighs. So there's like 2 bones in each, cut into 4. So I'll work out the bone. I know how much weight in vegetables there was. So, but I think it needs double the amount of vegetables, and I think double the amount of vegetables would turn it into a really good stock, and that a passable stock. But I think that would make it a really good stock. Yeah, I think so. And I think reading Jeremy Lee's book, when he talks about not overcrowding the pan with too much bones and vegetables, I think that's important, because I think it's a saturation point. I think the too little water and the water doesn't draw out enough of the flavour from the vegetables, or the stock doesn't extract all the flavour from the bones and vegetables that it can. So you're actually wasting the bones and vegetables, because you're not getting all the flavour out of them. So you think that you would make a more concentrated stock by using less water, but in fact what you're doing is not being as economical, because you would have got more stock, probably a slightly watered down version of a stock, but you would have probably got another 2 or 3 litres worth of stock, which you then, if you reduce that down to the same kind of level as if you'd used less water, you probably would have got an even better, more concentrated stock. I think that kind of makes sense to me. And that would explain why Gary Rhodes made a stock, drained off the stock from the stock pot, then added more water to it, and then reboiled the bones and vegetables to extract all that excess flavour. It probably would have been better using half the amount of bones, double the amount of water, or the same amount of water but half the amount of bones and vegetables, and would have extracted all that kind of flavour. But there's just lots of different ways to kind of do it. So I think I think that's probably a better way of making a stock. Simmering the bones without the vegetables for 12 hours, and then taking that stock and cooking the roast vegetables in it for 2-3 hours, extracting all that flavour and colour from the vegetables, and then straining it. I think that's a better way of making a stock. I think it's just a different way of making a stock. I think people make stocks in different ways, and it's what's best going to suit your purpose, what time you have, what equipment you have, what you're going to use this stock for. I think those are all kind of like important things to consider. And how good does your stock need to be? Are you in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, or are you in, a cafe, or are you at home, or are you cooking, faffing around at home and just wanting to not waste bones from if you go out hunting? Do you know what I mean? It's everything to kind of fit your kind of purpose of what you kind of do. To make stocks at home, it's pretty impractical because the amount of time and energy that they take to cook, not really economical in this climate, with rising fuel costs. But if you've got a wood burner, and you can put a pan on top of it and let it simmer away during the day, or overnight, then it's probably worth doing. But anyway, so I don't know what I've done. So it's kind of answered some questions. And if I decide to have another go at stocks, I can't think there was another question I wanted to ask myself. I think I've answered all the questions that I wanted to ask about making stocks, and I've made myself a decent stock, and I've worked out how to do it in different ways. So I can take bones and make a stock, like a bone broth stock, and then take that bone broth and then add it to vegetables and make a very good flavoured stock. Or I can take the jelly from when I have been jelly stock from when I've been rendering fat, and then I can use that jelly stock and I can add roast vegetables to it, simmer them for 3 hours, and make a very good stock out of that. So I've taught myself how to make a stock, and I've taught myself how to make it in different ways, and I've had a bit of fun on the way, and indulge my curiosity, which is what I do a lot of the time, if I'm honest. It's about my curiosity about things, and if I'm interested in something, there's got to be someone out there who's interested in it as well, or can learn, or have, but anyway, so I think that's a success. I think it needs double the amount of vegetables though, but I don't think we need to do it again. We just need to think of something fun to do with that stock. But anyway, there we go, a success. Until probably have a bit of a think about it and think I need to do something else, but there we go.